What's going on, guys? Justin here with my starts and sits for week 6. I want to quickly say that over 98% of you guys that watch are not subscribed, so please click that subscribe button. Let's jump right into the quarterbacks that I'd be looking to start in week 6. Justin Herbert has had favorable matchups in most games to open the season, but he's only had one top 10 finish. He gets the Dolphins in week 6, and they have a bottom 2 passing defense by DVOA. Time for Herbert to get back into the top 10. Drake May has been on this list every week apart from week 1, which was formatted a bit differently. But he's on this list again as he takes on the New Orleans Saints, who have one of the worst passing defenses in the entire NFL. Jordan Love finds himself on this list yet again, coming off a monster performance against the Cowboys before the bye. He gets another bottom 6 defense in the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Sam Darnold takes on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have had a solid defense so far this season. However, they give up a ton of fantasy points to quarterbacks, and Sam Darnold is playing like an MVP candidate. Bo Nix takes on the New York Jets this week, and they are dead last in pass defense by DVOA. Go ahead and fire up Bo this week. And I said to start CJ Stroud against the Ravens last week, and he threw for 4 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford gets them this week, and it wouldn't surprise me if he threw for 3 or more touchdowns. Lastly, a really deep option is Bryce Young. He's had a number of good matchups so far this season, but he hasn't done all that much with them. Though, he gets the Cowboys this week, and they are dead last in EPA allowed on passing plays. Bryce is an option if you really need it. I got 2 quarterbacks that I'd be looking to sit this week. I'd look for a better option if I had Kyler Murray. The Cardinals' offense isn't anything special, and he's slightly banged up. It's a foot injury, and it could impact his rushing ability, which has been providing him with a safe floor so far this season. Aaron Rodgers gets to take on the best pass rushing team by PFF in the Browns. The Steelers' offensive line is nothing special, so I would pivot if you were planning on starting Aaron Rodgers. Some of the running backs that I would want in my lineups, starting off with Kyren Williams. Now, he's likely an auto start each week, but the matchup and game script are so good against the Ravens that I had to mention him. Bill. It's time for Bill Krosky Merritt. He just came off a blow-up game in week 5, and I'm not completely sold he's completely taken over the backfield just yet, but he gets the Chicago Bears, who have a bottom 8 rushing defense. I'm predicting that Chuba Hubbard doesn't play again this week, so that means we get to fire up Rico Dowdle once again in a revenge game against the Dallas Cowboys. They have the worst rushing defensive grade by PFF in the entire league, so let's continue with the hot hand in Rico. Ashton Genty gets the Tennessee Titans this week, and they have the 2nd worst rushing DVOA in the league. He should be able to put up a 3rd straight top 15 finish. Lastly, I want to mention that the Chargers running backs have an extremely good matchup in taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have the 2nd worst EPA allowed per rushing play, and it is a shame Omarion Hampton is missing this game. If I had to guess, I would probably prefer Hassan Haskins over Kamani Vidal in week 6. Switching over to the running backs that I would avoid this week, I'm starting with Kenneth Gainwell. He had a monster performance before the bye, but Jalen Warren seems to be back, and now they take on the toughest run defense in the entire NFL in the Browns. Both backs do have some PPR value, but I would look elsewhere. Not that you'd want to be starting the Chiefs running backs, but they get the Detroit Lions defense this week, who have the best EPA allowed per rushing play in the entire NFL. DeAndre Swift also has some PPR value, but he gets the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football, who have a top 5 run-stopping defense. I don't know if you could sit Travis Etienne with all the work he's been getting, but I would temper my expectations on him, as the Seahawks have one of the best rushing defenses in the entire NFL. Looking at the wide receivers I want to be starting, I'm going to backpack off my Justin Herbert start, and I would fire up each of the Chargers wide receivers. I've mentioned this before, I don't know who will be the main guy this week, but the matchup is so good. Plus, with Omarion Hampton out for at least the next 4 weeks, they might be passing even more. Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden are a little bit deeper options, but they have such a great matchup against the Bengals, I think they are solid streamers this week. Like Kyren Williams, I probably don't need to tell you to start Devontae Adams, but the matchup is too good, so I have to mention him. Similar to Bryce Young, Ted McMillan has had a number of good matchups so far this season. He's put up some solid games, but he hasn't quite had that blow-up game yet, but it's coming. He gets the Cowboys this week and the Jets next week. Stephon Diggs has posted 16 or more points in his last 2 games, and like Drake May, he gets a very bad Saints defense, and he's emerging as the top wide receiver option for the New England Patriots. Some of the wide receivers I don't want in my lineup include the Browns wide receivers. The connection with Dylan Gabriel has yet to be seen, and I don't really want to put him in my lineups prematurely. I would like to wait and see with these guys. Rashid Shaheed is coming off a monster game where he had like a 90-yard touchdown, though I don't think this is sustainable, especially with the Saints offense, so I'm not in a rush to start him either. T. Higgins has been on the sit list for a few weeks now because of the quarterback situation, and I'm not exactly convinced that Flacco does a whole lot more for him. He could be an upgrade, but I would rather wait and see than rush T. Higgins into my lineups this week. Moving on to the tight ends I'm looking to start. Sticking with the Packers theme, I am firing up Tucker Kraft. He's been relatively quiet since his big game in week 2, but I think he easily gets a top 8 tight end finish this week. Jake Ferguson has been on an absolute heater to start the 2025 season, and it's only gotten better with no CD. I think CD misses yet again in week 6, but even if he plays, you just continue to roll out Jake Ferguson. Hunter Henry is coming off a down game against the Bills, but he gets the Saints defense this week, and they allow a lot of points to opposing tight ends. If Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings miss again in week 6, then I think Jake Tunges is a deeper streaming option. He's posted top 10 performances in back-to-back weeks, so let's just hope we didn't miss the bandwagon on him. Evan Ingram finally posted a top 12 finish last week, though he has yet to play more than 50% of snaps this season, so I'm still a bit hesitant on him. But the Jets matchup is so good that I think he's still a start for me. The last tight end I may be looking to start is a super deep streaming option, and that's Michael Mayer. The Raiders like to use their tight ends, and Bowers is probably going to miss this week and maybe next week. If you really need a tight end option, this Golden Domer is one for you. Only a couple tight ends I'm looking to sit this week. Travis Kelce is someone that I could see you avoiding. The Lions have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and Kelce just looks slow this year. The scoring volume of this game could be there for him, though. I also want to mention that the Lions' defensive backs are quite banged up, so it's important to pay attention to the injury report there. And Mark Andrews has been on this list just about every week, and he's not coming off the bench now. Even if Lamar plays, the Rams have one of the best passing defenses in the entire NFL. And that's all for this video. Let me know any questions you guys have in the comments. Please drop a like if you liked the video and hit subscribe if you haven't already.